Welcome back to a new story, where learning becomes an adventure and every moment teaches us something new. Today, we will discover and learn the names of many different jobs in English, all through a simple and enjoyable story that you can understand just by listening. Our journey follows a little girl named Lena who lives in a warm and friendly neighborhood filled with people who work in many different fields. Lena is curious, observant, and always full of questions, and she loves exploring how the world works by watching the people around her. In this story, she will introduce us to her family members, relatives, and neighbors, each one with a unique job, from doctors and teachers to engineers, shopkeepers, carpenters, baristas, and even athletes. Through Lena's eyes, we will learn these professions in English in a natural and fun way, simply by enjoying the story and following her adventure. So get ready for a warm, simple, and educational journey that will help you learn the names of jobs in English just by listening. Lena was a bright little girl with big curious eyes and a heart full of questions. She lived in a warm neighborhood, in a small building filled with friendly people and many different stories. Every morning, she woke up early and looked out of her window, watching the world outside come to life. She loved seeing people walking to work, opening their shops, starting their day, and doing jobs that kept the city moving. To her, every person had a special role, and every job had a purpose. She wanted to understand all of them. One sunny morning, Lena's mother told her that many family members were coming to visit for lunch. Lena felt excited because she always loved talking to her relatives about what they did in their jobs. She enjoyed asking questions and listening carefully to their answers. She believed that understanding people's work was like opening a door to a new world every time. Her father was the first person she wanted to talk to. Her father, Dr. Karim, was a doctor at the city hospital. He wore a white coat, carried a small notebook in his pocket, and always smelled like clean soap and antiseptic. To Lena, he was a hero. She watched him every morning as he tied his shoelaces and picked up his stethoscope. When she asked him what he did at work, he always smiled warmly and said, "I help people get better." Sometimes he told her about patients who came with fevers, stomach aches, or broken arms. He explained how he checked their heartbeat, how he looked at X-rays, and how he comforted scared children by talking to them gently. Lena loved hearing these stories and felt proud that her father saved lives every day. Her mother, on the other hand, worked from home as a graphic designer. She wasn't visiting the hospital or the city center like other people, but she worked with colors, shapes, and beautiful designs. Lena often sat beside her mother's desk, watching her arrange logos, draw pictures, and choose perfect color combinations. Her mother always told her, "Every design tells a story." Lena believed that too, because every time she looked at her mother's computer screen, she saw a new idea coming to life. When lunchtime arrived, the house became full of voices, footsteps, and delicious smells. One of the first relatives to arrive was Uncle Sammy, her father's older brother. Uncle Sammy was a schoolteacher. He taught mathematics in a nearby school, and he carried a small bag full of notebooks and pens wherever he went. He wore glasses and always spoke with kindness and patience. When Lena asked him about his job, he told her how he explained numbers and shapes to children, how he helped them solve problems, and how happy he felt when they finally understood something difficult. Teaching, he said, is like planting seeds and waiting for them to grow. A few minutes later, another uncle arrived, Uncle Rami, her mother's younger brother. He was a veterinarian who worked in an animal clinic. He always came with stories about animals, scared kittens, noisy parrots, lazy turtles, and excited puppies. He explained to Lena how he gave injections, checked animal health, and helped lost pets find their owners. He always said, "Animals cannot speak, so we must listen with our eyes and our hands." Lena admired how gentle he was and often dreamed of visiting his clinic to see the animals herself. Then came Aunt Layla, her mother's sister, who was an engineer. She wore a clean beige jacket, carried rolled blueprints under her arm, and looked confident and focused. She designed buildings and made sure they were safe and strong. When Lena asked her what she did exactly, she said, "I imagine how a building should look, and then I help make it real." Sometimes she showed Lena drawings of bridges, schools, and parks, explaining how every line meant something important. Lena loved how smart and creative her aunt was. After lunch, Lena went downstairs to visit the neighbors she loved seeing every day. Their building was small, but the people inside it had big hearts and interesting jobs. One of her favorite neighbors was Mr. Youssef, who owned the little grocery shop around the corner. Lena visited him often to buy bread, juice, or small snacks. She liked how he always knew what everyone needed, how he organized the shelves, and how he remembered every customer by name. He told her, a shopkeeper must be quick, friendly, and patient. Lena thought he was all three. Next to the grocery store stood a small cafe where a young man named Omar worked. He was not very old, maybe in his early 20s, but he loved his job. Every morning, he prepared coffee, sandwiches, and fresh juice for people on their way to work. Lena loved passing by the cafe because the smell of warm bread, roasted coffee, and sweet pastries always filled the street. Omar told her that serving people made him happy, because a good cup of coffee could change a person's day. Their neighbor upstairs, Mr. Hadi, was a carpenter. His workshop was just behind the building, small but full of wooden scents and sounds of cutting and polishing. Lena always loved watching him work through the open door. She saw wooden tables, chairs, shelves, and even toys he made for children. He once told her, "Wood has a soul. If you respect it, it will give you something beautiful." Lena always thought his hands were magical, turning simple wood into useful and beautiful things. At home, Lena also had her older brother, Sammy, who was a talented athlete. He played football for the school team and spent hours training on the field. He dreamed of becoming a professional player one day. He told Lena that being an athlete required discipline, strength, and determination. Lena admired his passion and often watched him practice, cheering for him loudly. Later that evening, when the relatives had left and the neighborhood became quieter, Lena sat in her room thinking about all the people she knew. Everyone had a job. Everyone had a role. Her father healed people. Her uncle taught students. Her other uncle cared for animals. Her aunt designed buildings. Her neighbor sold food. Another served coffee. Another built furniture. And her brother trained every day to someday become a champion. She realized that the world was full of different kinds of work, and every job was important in its own way. To Lena, these people were not just workers. They were heroes of another kind, quiet heroes who made life easier, healthier, safer, and more beautiful. She felt grateful to live in a place where she could learn from all of them. And she promised herself that one day, when she grew up, she would choose a job she loved just as much as they loved theirs. That night, Lena opened her notebook and began drawing little pictures of everyone she talked to that day, her father with his stethoscope, her mother at her computer, her teacher uncle holding chalk, her veterinarian uncle with a tiny kitten, her engineer aunt with blueprints, the carpenter with wooden tools, the shopkeeper arranging fruit, the barista preparing coffee, and her brother kicking a football. She drew all of them with big smiles, because to her, each one was special. As she looked at her drawings, she felt proud. She finally understood something important, that every job, no matter how big or small, helps the world keep moving. And she knew that the more she learned about people and their work, the more she understood life itself. And that brings us to the end of Lena's beautiful journey as she explored the many jobs in her family and neighborhood, learning how every person plays an important role in making life easier, safer, and better. After meeting her doctor father, her teacher uncle, her veterinarian uncle, her engineer aunt, the friendly shopkeeper, the hard-working carpenter, the barista at the cafe, and her athletic brother, we can truly see how every job adds something special to the world. And now that we've reached the end of the story, let's take a moment to test how much you remember with a few simple questions before we close our video. So here we go. What job does Lena's father do? Who in her family takes care of sick animals? Which aunt works with buildings and blueprints? Who is the neighbor that runs the grocery shop? And what dream does Lena's brother want to achieve as an athlete? Thank you so much for watching and joining us in this learning adventure. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more simple English stories that help you learn and imagine. See you in the next video.